Hey guys, Stealth here. Today I'm looking at a review or replay that was sent in a paramedic, and this gameplay, as he mentioned it, is going to be a bit cheesy, and not by him but by the enemy team. Now, he was together with his team on TeamSpeak, so they were coordinating, but I wouldn't be surprised if the enemy team was too. Now the map for this one is going to be straight to the point. You can see it's a very large map for 4 people. I think that this thing is still better for 10v10. Although, depending on the income, you tend to get a bit spammy tactics in a situation like that. Anyway, you're going to get a lot of income from this map, considering that the main zone already gives you 9 points. And then with every other zone you can capture, there are going to be so many points flowing into your resupply that you may not always know what to do with it. Now, Perez is using a East German general deck. You can see he's deploying quite some forces here. We got 2 Tungushkas, infantry, T-72S1, recon, another T-72, 4 separate T-72s, a quad stack of Flacom Osas. Apparently he's expecting a pretty heavy air rush, which isn't really unlikely, because some people like to rush into Oscar, or if you're mirroring this map, they like to rush into Delta. If you have either of these zones under your control, you can very quickly establish a very powerful position here by bringing in land units as well as sea units. And for example, if you were Blue 4, parking 1 or 2 Bake News off this coast would mean that the airstrike problem would be completely negated. Anyway, Paris putting up defense markers. Guys who want to defend here or attack. Of course, I don't know what's been going on with his TeamSpeak, so he may have been talking to these guys and giving them instructions that there might be an air rush coming in here. Anyway, let's see what we can expect from this battle. I'm going to speed this up a little bit until we start. Quickly have a look at what the other guys are using. Raffi seems to be using Chinese. ZTZ 85-3s. A couple of BTR transports. They have their own command infantry in this position. You can see command infantry going into Constantine and Leonard. Just look at the column of vehicles that's moving out here. Just imagine all the damage you can do to this column if you have a couple of cluster bombers. Because, let's face it, these guys would be pretty hard pressed to shoot down all of those. Big air assault coming in. Super Cobras, Frogs. I gotta say, Sharp's doing a great job here neutralizing that initial air rush. Taking most of these things out, except for the thing that the Super Cobras have better range against helicopters than the TY-90s. But they're not even getting an opportunity to fire back at them. Look at that. 2 Super Cobras going down right away. Red 4 instantly has 900 points, which is 600 more than Blue 4 has scored so far. So very well done there. Now Paris pushing up here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we'd start to see the first ships come in, considering that they have captured this position now. Nothing from the other side yet, because, yeah, okay, they don't have a command vehicle there yet. Now this seems to be the second wave. A lot of vehicles are moving towards the north, trying to capture this terrain as quickly as possible, and they're probably trying to push either into Nicholas or Olga. Olga is always the ideal destination, but it's harder to get to, so I'm not sure if they're actually going to make it all the way there. Interesting push here by Para. I've not really seen many people do this, but these vehicles are all amphibious, and they're now floating across this river, trying to get to the other side, where some of the infantry has already managed to make it, because they just took the bridge, which is of course a lot faster than floating across at 40 and 45 kph. Now he has some LSTRs here in a forward position. Very good troops to have there. Good anti-tank capability, decent anti-air, very good advanced force there. 1 Huchan's coming in. Interesting choice of ship. I wouldn't really expect this. Not yet, anyway. These things are mostly geared towards anti-ship warfare. They have a decent gun. Nothing great, but they carry a whole lot of rounds. 800 rounds. With a very high rate of fire of 300 rounds a minute. But other than that, they only carry anti-ship missiles. So I was expecting something more along the lines of a ship which has a bit more anti-air range. So far, nothing yet. Looks like Para lost one of the Osakas, or one of the Osas, not one of the Osakas, one of the Osas due to that seaplane that came over. And now we're seeing LSTRs versus Jaegers. Look at this, these guys are going to get absolutely slaughtered, possibly without giving up a single kill. Yeah, look at that. No casualties from the side of the LSTRs. What I am worried about though is the amount of infantry that's bundled together here. These guys are pretty pricey at 35. But I think we need to divert our attention somewhere. We have an air rush coming in from the other flank. They managed to capture Constantine, and yep, this is what I was expecting, the bake news. So they now have an air defense force set up here in Constantine. It's not a reinforcement route for land vehicles, but they can reinforce naval vehicles from it. Which may mean that if you're dealing with a marine deck, you're going to see naval forces landing from this position, trying to push into this area as quickly as possible. And I believe you can also spawn helicopters from it. Red 4 is instantly scrambling some AA here, which they desperately need. Let's see, nothing incoming yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are some forces on the way. This, by the way, is a problem. This Bake Nu is right in the middle of Constantine. It has an anti-air range of 4.2 kilometers, 3.5 versus helicopters, which outranges anything in the Red 4 arsenal. Ground range, 2800 meters, not great, but if you have significant support like Super Cobras around it, then it's going to be very hard for Red 4 to get rid of that ship. Now, the situation seems to be controlled for now, although there are a lot of choppers moving this way. A lot of Lynx AH-7s. It seems that they have somehow swapped position. Red 4 managed to make it across the bridge, and Blue 4 did the same thing. They also managed to make it across the bridge, but quite unexpectedly so. I'd expected them to be a bit more towards this town here. I gotta say, they have some pretty strong positions with those dual 2A5s, which are getting shot at by the ZTZs, but ZTZs they're not really going to be able to withstand such punishment for very long. LSTRs with a Vampire? They can. They managed to take out one of the Leopards. Let's see if they can get the other one as well. A couple of Chumats are being disposed of here quite effectively, and that was the second 2A5. That's two of their super tanks down. I'm keeping an eye on this position. Oh, we already got STRB-98s coming in. Riverine craft. Very, very dangerous because they can make it all the way into your spawn, and they don't seem to have any kind of ground defense currently. We got Raffi coming in here. SU-25K managed to nail that ship. Not a moment too soon either. Gotta say, this guy is stacking all sorts of high point units, which you don't get a high number of. 3 Flak Panzer Gepard A2s together. That's just calling for an artillery strike. And other than that, he has a couple of Marder 2s, so that probably means Panzer Grenadiers are going to be in here. I haven't seen those get neutralized yet. One LSTR, I doubt he's going to survive. But these guys are going to make it a lot more difficult for the Jaeger to actually survive this push. LSTR going out, missile, narrowly missed those helicopters, and there is a bomber going in. This is going to hurt them quite a bit. Look at that. Wiped out a lot of LSTRs there. In the meanwhile, this position here in Boers is being threatened, and Red 4 doesn't really have a whole lot to defend that with. There's a Congo coming in, but the Congo doesn't really have a target to shoot at yet. And thank God for those QW1s here, because otherwise these helos would have just rushed this command position and taken it out. I'm gonna switch to neutral, see what what Blue 4 has coming in. SCS in this position, SCS here, Volkskremjäger. Looks like they shot down one chopper because this guy's only on his own. Some SCS here. HKP-3Cs, command section. Yeah, they got a pretty decent position here, but a couple of vehicles will wipe those right out. Let's see how Paris is doing in the middle there. He lost quite a lot of his LSTRs here, and you don't get that many to begin with. So let's hope that he can come back from this. A couple of K1s are making their way into the forest. Now K1s have 17 frontal armor versus the 23 armor penetration of the Yugyoktys. So these guys should be able to take care of those K1s very nicely. In the meanwhile, Pohang managed to nail the Tunguska that paramedic was bringing in here. Radar antenna is down though. So this thing is going to start taking more and more fire. And of course, ATGMs are impossible to defend against anyway. Anti-zombies boy here is taking a lot of fire, but these 550s cannot keep up that fire. Not against two Bake News and one Chamsry. One of them got destroyed. Pohang is still there, unfortunately. Lots and lots of naval support here. Now, someone mentioned naval units cannot win you the battle. That's not entirely true. Because they can put so much pressure on your lines, on your supply lines, on aircraft or neutralizing aircraft capability, that is very hard to come back from having ships, for example, here and there. That completely locks down the middle of the map, so that you're either going to have to defend, or wait till those ships push you out of those defensive zones in Nicholas and Olga. It's going to be a pretty big naval mess at that stage. And this seems to be what Para is dealing with currently. Other than that, in the middle, Sharp has set up a pretty impressive defensive position here. Quite a lot of Bongangzus, making sure that there's no infantry coming across this ridge. Got Volkskremjäger engaged with Gongyongs. They're too far out of range, trying to close the distance here as quickly as possible so they can start using that napalm launcher, or that flamethrower really. Which is not really working out for him. Come on, get in the building. Now they're starting to neutralize the Volkskremjäger, only very, very slowly. There's one Cobra back in the map, and he does not have any AA to defend against here. So this Cobra could pose a lot of problems for the Gongyongs here. It is taking shots though from the Gongyong. Lost its targeting system. Yeah, this thing is going to go down. Hadn't expected that result. Oh, he might make it out alive. Yeah, with just one hit point, he managed to make it out alive. Now, the middle of the map is still a pretty heavy problem with all of those ships. This side is completely locked down. The other flank, he has a few tanks left, which are looking okay. They haven't taken that much damage. They got a decent amount of ammunition, but the amount of fuel that they have could be better. A couple of OSAs here, which still have all of their missiles. They still haven't fired a single round. A couple of LSTRs, still the few survivors from this town fight, who have absolutely no AA and only 2 anti-tank missiles left. Other than that, are they bringing in any new stuff? Because they must have a lot of points. What are they spending their points on? Because I'm not seeing it. Some Bake News on the right flank. Bake News are pretty easy to kill if you have a ship. Because these things are classed as coasters, which means they can be targeted by anti-ship missiles. But their defense against anti-ship missiles is pretty bad. Unfortunately, this is not really the right way to neutralize a Bake New. A5s are going to cost you 100 points versus a 75 point Bake New. So this really was not the right way to deal with an aircraft like that. This MiG-23 is trying to get a shot at the tornado. Managed to hit the tornado, but the MiG-23 got hit in return. Not by the tornado, but by the Bake New. T-72 is getting destroyed, probably around this position. Not really sure what's going on here, but they seem to be taking ATGM fire of some sort. And there's more infantry along the way here. So the LSTRs here are going to be in for a pretty heavy fight, which I doubt they'll win. Let's see, medium veterans infantry, light riflemen here. Yeah, 18 light riflemen against 3 LSTRs. My money is not on the LSTRs. Lots of OSAs lost in one bombing run. That really hurt. This one barely made it out alive. Look at that. 1 hit point left, almost no fuel. A constant seed aircraft flying overhead to try and get that last AA unit. In the meanwhile, STRBs are also harassing these tanks, and this is going to be the last nail to the coffin of this T-72. There's no way he's going to get out of this alive. Maybe this one's out of ATGMs for now. He seems to be pulling it back. Yeah, looks like he's making his way back to make sure that the T-72 cannot shoot back at him. We do, however, have 1 anti-tank helicopter here, who might not have spots on this T-72. Oh, someone else does. That's probably the light infantry. And they managed to get 1 missile into the T-72. These AA units are getting a hit again. There's no way he's going to survive that. HQ-7 got killed off, T-72 died. The OSA is probably going to be next with the next salvo that might come in. Now let's see what's happening over here on the left. There seems to be a bit of a counter push coming in from Red 4, trying to force Blue 4 to leave here. And so far, Blue 4 is losing terrain. Especially if Legion 90s can get those napalm launchers to bear on the Volkswagen Jaeger. Other than that though, Red 4 has a decent amount of income. They lost Leonid, they got Olga, Nicholas, and that's it. They lost Fedor. There was a command tank in there. I'm not sure if they pulled it back. I don't think so, because I don't see it anymore. Well, I do see some Blue 4 movers here. And we got a Congo backed up with a couple of Bake News, a Chamzeri, and another Chamzeri behind it. So this position along this coastline is completely closed off due to that 1 Congo offshore. I think they're doing a good job trying to push them out of Constantine, but I'm not sure if it's going to be distraction or if this is actually Blue 4's plan. Let's see what they have here. Not that much. A couple of survivors from an SAS squad, another SAS there, and some AA infantry right there. Other than that, there's just the Bake New, which in a situation like this can still pose a problem because of its main gun. So they're going to have to bring in a couple of tanks in order to neutralize that ship. Once they've done that, they can kill off the command infantry and reclaim this sector. Other than that, what's Blue 4 playing at? Blue 4 has quite a decent position over here. Let's say to the north of the islands. A couple of Jaeger. That's the last of paramedics transports here. Chumats, K1s. Other than that, they don't seem to have too many forces. They do have is a couple of Burlier Exo sets as well as MOBAs. This is a pretty big investment. This is anti-ship artillery, in case you've never seen it, and I wouldn't blame you because not that many people play with the naval sections nowadays. Anyway, these things, the MOBAs carry 4 anti-ship missiles, they carry harpoons. Burlier Exo set carry different missiles, they carry the Exo set missile. And this is a very, very big investment. Gary the Snail has invested 210 points in this. Smirches are for new guys, has invested even more. This is 280 points of anti-ship artillery moving about here. And they're probably trying to get shots on the ships that Paramedic has deployed here. He has 2 Torrential 3s to help to defend the Utiloi from missile attack. And you can see that it is required, because those missiles nearly hit the Utiloi. It seems that they might be bringing in more ships here. Yeah, and the Hujan's coming in, and Muna. to resupply and repair the ships as they need it. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with the naval units, they cannot cross underneath this bridge and go to the other flank unless they're river class. The Tarantulas, as well as the Udaloi, do not class as rivercraft, so they cannot make it across. Or at least they cannot cross this bridge. They are, I believe, coasters, so that means that you can park them pretty much right offshore here. But nothing more. They cannot go into rivers, they cannot traverse this section. So once you deploy a ship on this flank, they're stuck there. They're not going anywhere else. Seems that the left flank is slowly but steadily moving up. A lot of investment in troops here by Sharp, as well as PT the Generalized. Let's just call him Pete for now. Udaloi is taking fire. A bit of cluster munitions are being dropped on him. Considering the amount of opposition we've seen so far, it's, I believe, an M270. I'm not too sure. It's a Mars. These things fire cluster munitions and they manage to damage that Udaloi quite a bit. But so far it seems to be doing okay. The one thing I'm worried about for the Udaloi is it running out of those Kinzai missiles. Without those missiles, they only have their guns really to defend themselves from incoming missiles. So they don't have any defensive missiles, and that means that this resupply Muna from Paramedic has to rush towards this position, resupply the Udaloi and keep it safe. Because the anti-ship artillery is probably parked... Yep, there it is. You can see the launch positions coming in, firing 3 missiles. Now, if you are going to find yourself in a position like this, we got the MOBAs here, the Burliers are going back to resupply. The best way to pull off something like this is to have all the MOBAs and the Burliers fire at exactly the same target at exactly the same time. That's really the best way to neutralize these ships. Just try to overcome their missile defenses by spamming as many missiles into them as you possibly can. Lacking that, this means that they're just going to intercept all of those missiles because the swarm isn't big enough. Now Sharp has put down a marker, an attack marker here. I'm not too sure why. Possibly because there's another Pohang coming in. So we lost an MI8 here in the middle. This is a bit worrying because that MI8, I'm not too sure where it was. Not up front, I suppose. Unless it dropped off FJBs, that might be the thing here. Udaloi is taking quite a bit of artillery fire. The ship can stand artillery fire though, not really cluster munitions, but other it can. Oh, that hurt. Look at the fireball that thing put up. That was the resupply ship, which is a good spot from Blue 4. Neutralizing that resupply ship means that this Udaloi is no longer going to get repaired or resupplied, which means it's a much easier target. Here comes a new missile wave, by the way. Neutralized so far, but the Navy is spreading itself out a bit. No victims yet, no hits. All of those missiles are getting stopped. One hit the Udaloi, another one hit. Oh, you don't want to lose that ship. That's worth 500 points. What's going on here? Blue 4 seems to be reinforcing this position slightly in order to make sure that they don't lose the zone. And the Baeknu and the Pohangs are more than capable of dealing with the infantry here. In fact, it's very, very easy for them to kill off the infantry without taking any kind of casualties or damage. Meanwhile, Para is being very aggressive here with his FJB-40s. Getting some light riflemen killed off, but he's looking at all sorts of threats. I'm not sure why he's pushing up with one group of 2 units of infantry. It doesn't really make any sense. And I doubt he's going to have forgotten about these units, just walked them up forward and hoped for the best. Okay, Red 4 has now spotted the command infantry, or at least knows more or less where it is. Up there, in the tree line. Let's see if that's exactly where it is. Yeah, they have an exact spot on the infantry. Not sure how they got it, but somehow they managed to see where the infantry is. So hopefully... Yep, there it is. Artillery's going out, but not really where I had expected it to go. Sharp is firing in a different position, neutralizing the SAS so the other infantry can move up. I would go for an artillery strike with, yeah, something like that, and try to neutralize the command infantry as quickly as possible. Jamsari coming in from the right. Paramedic brought in another Muna, and the Udaloy is now steaming towards the Muna to get repaired and resupplied. But getting this ship fully repaired is going to take a long time. You don't really want to spend that much time. Oh, they managed to sink one of the ships. You can see the water's pretty shallow here, and the ship didn't really sink entirely. It's still sticking out, and it's going to be like that for the rest of the battle. Let's see what he's bringing in. A couple of Type 63s. Mi-8 with command infantry here. That might be the command infantry that we see moving here. No, it's a helicopter. Why isn't the artillery firing yet? Oh, it is firing. My bad. So, Pete's gonna fire that artillery probably right at the enemy infantry. Shell on the way. See where that thing is heading. Shell's going out. Not really what I had expected it to go, but that artillery is not the most accurate thing. Yeah, he managed to hit the water. Are those coxswains really that ineffective? No, they have a pretty decent dispersion, so I think he didn't aim it properly, or he just got unlucky with the targeting there. Bohang taking a lot of fire from Type 63s. He's having a bit of water ingress. Getting hit by the Type 63s time and time again. AMX-10RC trying to spot whatever is shooting back at the Pohang. Not really doing it though. Otherwise the Pohang would have returned fire by now. Let's see, this Pohang is going to be in a bit of trouble. The Donghae though is far more dangerous currently than the Pohang. Because the Pohang isn't that veteran. It has just 2 chevrons as veterancy. The Donghae is completely elite, which means it's a very accurate ship. It's going to be very, very good at neutralizing anything it's going to be seeing with very good accuracy. So yeah, I just want them to see them push out this zone. This is risky by Pete. That Pohang has some very good anti-helicopter defenses. What is this guy doing? That just, to me, did not make any sense. Somehow they managed to neutralize the command infantry by... Yep, they pushed in their own command infantry here. Their command infantry from Blue 4 isn't dead, but this at least stops Blue 4 from bringing in any new units. So now Red 4 can start taking these ships apart at their leisure. Now as for the scores, we're looking 6,900 versus 6,500. So the score currently looks like a draw. It's not doing too bad. And I gotta say, it looks like nobody's really moving down the middle of the map. Blue 4 isn't pushing. Red 4 seems to be doing incursions every now and then into this town. But it all seems to be very half and half, like they're not that aggressive either way. So who is investing their points in what then? A couple of Sinhung light tanks coming in to deal damage to the Donghae. Donghae is having none of that. You can see him very quickly disposing of these tanks. Now tanks are good units to kill ships, especially at this range. The problem is that a lightly armored tank like that is going to go down very quickly. My best solution for this, considering that this guy's using China, is to just use a couple of Type 59s. They have the armor to withstand the HE damage from the Donghae, while at the same time being able to do quite a bit of damage, and considering that Type 59s are pretty cheap, or get one of the Chinese better tanks if you have the money for it. Those could pretty easily take care of the Donghaes pretty quick. Now recon unit getting attacked here by artillery. Not really that accurate. But let's see. I wouldn't be surprised if Blue 4 had managed to capture this town and possibly something along this forest. Let's see what we have. Nothing? They simply don't know that they can push. If you park a Congo offshore here, it's not that difficult to then start pushing in with infantry and vehicles, because you can just move forward under the cover of that ship. So far they're not really doing anything. A couple of SU-25Ks come in, managed to destroy the last ship it seems, but at the same time the zone is still not neutralized because there's still command infantry in here. You can see that the last of those ships are just sticking out. I'd say that this thing is beached either way, so I'm not really sure how that thing didn't manage to run aground as it was still operational. Same for this one. And this seems to be the end of Blue 4 over here on this flank. Meanwhile, I'm seeing another command ship. A Lafayette's being brought in. Gotta say, kudos to that M500D for spotting a Lafayette. These things have medium stealth, which makes them very hard to see. But somehow, the MW500D managed to actually spot this ship and correctly identify it. So, good job to them. Although, actually it might be these guys. Very small recon unit, sniper team. Possibly seeing that ship from this angle. Doesn't really matter either way, at least they know that there's a Lafayette there. Now it seems that they are spotting whatever is out here. A couple of tanks, 2A4, Weasel Toe 2s. And so far they are damaging this position a little bit. Paris putting up a defense marker. He might be trying to shoot back at them with the light infantry here. Also got some more light infantry up in the hills. But I really wouldn't want to be firing ATGMs back at these units, because it's just getting spotted means the end of your units. Or firing means the end of your units. You can see them there. It's one toe down. Considering that this cost him 40 points, he managed to make whatever he spent on the light infantry there, but against a Tiger, a couple of chieftains, it's not really gonna work. I have 8 minutes left on the clock. The score difference is only 100 points. And now Red 4 seems to be pushing back. You can see that all the Tarantulas and the Hujans, the only ship that's going to fire its ATGMs right now, or its ASMs, is the Jiangyu 3. The rest of these ships, especially the Tarantulas, have their missiles disabled, or actually all their weapons. Now this isn't really the right way to go either, because the main gun, as well as the Strelas, can still be effective while not using the Tarantula. Raffi lost a Tarantula there. What they're trying to do is make an ATGM or an ASM ball, trying to get as many ships together so that they can try and overwhelm the amount of anti-ship capability or anti-ship missile capability that these ships have. Now, Gary the Snail decided to surrender. Not really sure why, because Blue 4 currently is still winning, but Red 4 is making quite the comeback here. Paris pushing with motor shoots in 90. We got the last forces from Gary here. Motor shoots and moving up under the fire of artillery coming in. Considering the rate of fire, I'd say that's mortars. Like the Schützen trying to move in. Trying to get a shot at these chieftains, which currently seem to have their side armor towards the Leichtschützen. They're not aware of the threat. One missile going in, but if you don't guide it, it's not going to hit anything. They have been spotted though. Considering that the chieftains aren't shooting back at them, I'd say that they are not capable of shooting at each other currently. They are, however, capable of shooting at this unit, which is a 60 point, I believe, M60. Yep, that's an M60. Looks like M60 ERA with the tiling on top of it. Trying to get shots on the chieftains. Hit once. Immediately shook that tank. Next missile going in. Missed. Like they should have decent missiles, but they're not the most accurate. Only 45%. They're currently firing with 78% or 70% accuracy. 68%. Missile going in. Chieftains down. However, they are going to lose the infantry here. Unless he pulls it back right now and gets it resupplied. Alright, they captured Leonid. That's this zone. That's where Blue 4 managed to throw the command unit out of. So they're slowly but steadily starting to regain the amount of income that they had at the beginning of the game. In the meanwhile, here comes the ASM spam. Chemseries are going to be the first target. That's one down. Now, pausing in here briefly, what you see some people doing is having all of those anti-ship units try to fire their missiles at the main ship here, which in this situation would be either the Lafayette or the Congo. By doing that, you're giving all of these ships that are in front of the main target the opportunity to shoot back at your missiles. The right way to do it is to engage the escort ships first. Take care of the Bake News. Take care of the Chemseries. By doing that, you're gaining points, and you're making it more difficult for a gun-on-gun fight, which is usually unavoidable, to be won by your fleet. A couple more missiles going in. That Bake News is gonna get killed off. There you go. More missiles from the Tarantulas coming in. At this stage, they're not firing consistently, though. It's just a few missiles here and there. You really want to have more missiles in a bigger swarm together, because this is not getting through. The way to do that is to select all of these ships, turn off their weapons, and once they're ready, turn their weapons back on. You can see Blue 4 is, however, pulling back. Lafayette did get hit. Donghae managed to get blown up there. So Raffi as well as... Sorry, these are not only Raffi ships. We got Raffi, Pete, and Sharp working in tandem to make sure that they are going to get some points here from Blue 4. And they are pulling back the score. They're now leading by 400 points. Not much seems to be going on in the middle. I did see some notifications go up of units lost. I'm not sure why this Lafayette is here, considering it's a pretty big investment for 200 points, but it's not doing anything. Possibly a deterrent ship. A couple of these ships took some damage. This Hujan's on fire. It's getting repaired by the Muna. The Muna is slowly delivering supplies to that ship. The rest of the ships have a decent amount of anti-ship missiles remaining. So they are ready to go for another salvo if they shoot. Oh, look at this. The battleship has arrived. And yes, I know it's not a battleship. Sovramanis are classed, I believe, as destroyers. Possibly cruisers. But these things can last you a long while in a battle such as what's about to follow. Quite surprised that there's still infantry here that they didn't manage to kill off yet. But again, the SCS were pretty far out of the way, so they didn't really have any necessity to try and spot these guys and take them out. HKP-3 landed, killed off by the Jins as they were pushing up. By the way, if you're playing Blue 4 and you see Jiang U-3s coming in, be very wary of these ships. They may not look very impressive, but for 160 points, these things can put all sorts of trouble at your shore. They have a very decent gun on them, 100mm, doing 6 HE damage. 8 anti-ship missiles with good range, good accuracy, and decent damage. And pretty good medium-range anti-air missiles, as well as defensive missiles. Aside from that, exceptional sea optics and very good sea whiz. These things are hard to kill. And right now they're just seemingly inviting the ASM response from Blue 4 to fire at the Tarantulas, which are disposable. They're not that important. Missiles going in, hitting the Fayette. Fayette's blown up. Blue 4 has reinforced this fleet currently. More missiles going in. And all getting intercepted. Pohang. You can see that they are seemingly going for the main ship, which is the Congo. Pohang got hit, and the Congo also managed to get a missile. Let's see the Pohang. Yep, they managed to get the Congo. That is a very, very heavy blow to Blue 4. Because that's just cost them a lot of points, as well as making sure that this fleet now has a lot less anti-air capability or anti-missile capability. And considering that Lafayette's only carry 24 of those Crotale CN2 missiles, that's their main defense. They don't carry any gun defenses, like for example the Jiangyu. You can see that they have these smaller turrets, which are very good against killing off anti-ship missiles. Lafayette doesn't have that. They don't have those gun turrets which are good at dealing with incoming anti-ship missiles. That's the Crotale battery. It's trying to take care of the ships, the aircraft. I gotta say, the game really, really still looks good, even when zoomed in like this. Yes, it may be a bit spammy in the naval section. Yes, it may not be perfect. But I'd say that I still really, really enjoy seeing all the fireworks go up from these ships. All the short-range action. Of course, two Fayettes like this would never be this close together and sitting still. You really wouldn't see that in a naval engagement. And look at the amount of score. Red 4 was leading by 800 points. Blue 4 is now closing in again. And I think that, yep, time's up. Very, very narrow draw. So, looking at the kill list, Paramedic managed to make positive, even without, or even with losing all those units at the beginning, unfortunately for him. Sharp played a good game. Pete was feeding a little bit, but not by too much. And Raffi made a decent, let's say a break even. Main damage dealers on Blue 4, I'd say Fighter 53. Smirch was feeding slightly, Gary was feeding slightly, and Anti-Zombie was feeding slightly as well. But they were all more or less getting carried by Fighter, who managed to get them to a draw anyway. So, pretty heavy, intense battle there. Definitely fun for me to watch. I hope you enjoyed it too. And I'll be back soon with more videos.